And good morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. As we move into this Thursday, as we remind you, be weather alert over the next 24 hours. Now, during the daytime, not really anything to worry about. Our concern comes in after midnight, somewhere around 4 a.m. We're going to give you all the details of that. We'll look at the maps, show you exactly what's coming up this morning with all of this. Always be weather alert. Now, our friends that live in Winston County, those of you that live in Philadelphia, you're not out of the woodwork. That is still a level 3. Lauderdale County, Kemper, Clarke counties in these areas have moved to a level 2, but a huge threat again for Neshoba County, also into Winston, and a little bit of Noxubee County still going to be included in this level 3. Now again, it picks up even worse as we go back west down I-20 and you get to out of Monroe, Louisiana, and you arrive at Ruston, Louisiana. That becomes a level 4 all the way back to Tyler, Texas, out near pretty close to Dallas, Fort Worth area. But that's going to be a level 4. Tornadic activity is expected in those areas and very well could happen here. We have to never rule it out, especially at this level 3. They can pop up. It's not out of the woodwork for Lauderdale County coming in at a level 2. We could still have one, but the chances are that it could be a little bit to the west. We could still have it. I don't want to rule that out. I don't want anybody to take me wrong as we watch weather and see what becomes of this. Again, this is an overnight event that is on the way. Somewhere around 4 a.m. is when we're expected, and it should be over by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So things will be back to normal by 10 o'clock tomorrow is what we are expecting. Now, I could have, as we do things live sometimes, you question yourself if you fix something. I'm not quite sure that I updated today's word out at the church. We're going to start this, and I may have to fix this while we're live to put the new one in. We'll see there. All right, here we go. Let's check it.
As I read the account of Jesus' crucifixion, death, and resurrection, one of the things that stands out to me is how surprised and in disbelief his 12 disciples were. That just doesn't make sense given that Jesus emphatically told them numerous times what was about to happen. In Matthew 20, we read, "And Jesus was going up to Jerusalem. He took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, 'See, we're going up to Jerusalem. And the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him and kill him and deliver him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified, and he'll be raised on the third day.'" You see, this was actually the third time Jesus had foretold his death to his disciples. So Jesus was trying to prepare them for what they were about to see and what was about to happen. But you know what? Come to think of it, the truth of the matter is that nothing could prepare them for what God was about to do. He was about to sacrifice his only begotten Son on an old rugged, nasty cross. And while Jesus hung there, he placed all the sins of the world on him and poured out his wrath on Jesus for our sins, paying for our sins. And after dying, the Father raised Jesus from the dead to prove to the world that Jesus is the only Savior. So you know it does kind of make sense as to why the disciples were so surprised and in disbelief at the death and resurrection of Jesus. What God did in Jesus Christ is the most incredible thing ever done in the history of the world. And I don't care how many times Jesus foretold it, nothing could prepare you and me for the way that God did it. It blows my mind. And while I might not fully understand it, I'm so glad he did it, and I gladly receive it. How about you? Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. Okay, and yes, as Odie pointed out to me in the corner, maybe somebody needed to hear that twice. We'll see if we can fit today's episode in before we run out of time and the morning show starts. How do you say it? Ruh-roh. All right, let's get into to weather and what we're doing. I do hope everybody's got a smile on trying to get this day started as we go. And again, that's just live. Things happen like that. We do appreciate that. Let's see here. Corey, how are you doing this morning? Let's pull this up where everybody gets a good view. I want to be absolutely sure everyone understands what we've got coming. All right, let's go to Meridian Honda radar and let's pull this up this morning. The red is the absolute worst weather that we've got. You see Tyler, Texas in here. We go all the way right up there to the front door of Dallas, Texas. Now, Dallas all the way back over to Fort Worth and west of there out to West Texas is a level 3 like we've got here in the Meridian area just west of us. But right here, all of this area here, Nacogdoches, if I pronounced that right, I believe it did. We've got Mansfield, these areas here all the way up through El Dorado and taking in the Hot Springs there in Arkansas. All of this area is a level 4. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's going to be tornadoes break out in this area. This peach-looking area here, pretty strong chance is going to be tornadoes that will fall in there somewhere. Now, you cannot go, all right, this is the spot. I know without a shadow of a doubt this county will have it. We can't do that. But we do know that it stretches in this entire area. Now, let's get into Mississippi and look at this level 3 of what we've got. Now, again, this will originally was all of Lauderdale County and has moved a little west. Let's look at our locations and look at the county lines of where this stuff is and turn on our location so you'll know in relationship to where you live. Again, Yella is a level 2. And let me back up and make absolutely sure everybody understands that a tornado does not understand these imaginary lines that are drawn by forecasters. It just means it's a higher chance here than it is here. Doesn't mean that it won't cross paths and come on. But as we look at this, the line right through the middle of Conahatta is going to be the level 3, right up to the Dollar General in Union. Anything west, northwest of there is going to be a level 3. All of Scott County. Now, Jasper County, y'all are a level 2. As we come up through Philadelphia, Tucker is the line as we come across Highway 19. Tucker is going to be the dividing line right out to Ford store where the Dollar General is on Highway 16. That's at level 3. Now, there's a small portion of Kemper County that will be included in the level 3. As we go up here, now this is the Dollar General sitting right there in Preston. It will be a half a mile or so just to the north, northwest, west of that location. As we move right on into Winston County, all of Winston County is under a level 3, which means it's going to be very serious weather there. As we get into Noxubee County, you travel out of Scuba, you go up Highway 45. This is only going to be a mile or so outside of Macon, Mississippi, from the Kentucky Fried Chicken, where McDonald's is. Just west of there will be where that level 3 picks up. Now, as you go northward toward Columbus and these areas here, all of Mississippi State, Starkville, Oktibbeha County under this. But west of Columbus Air Force Base will be a level 3. Columbus Air Force Base will be a level 2. But Crawford, if you take the back way into Mississippi State, that's going to be that level 3 and that weather threat. As we look at this northward out of the state of Mississippi, this will travel right through Tupelo and on up to take it in Memphis and Collierville, Tennessee. In those areas there, all of Olive Branch, that northwestern portion of Mississippi is a level 3. Now, again, this stuff is going to get dangerous somewhere around 4 a.m. We'll be behind the scenes probably 2 o'clock getting ready for whatever comes about in these early morning hours of what's coming. Know that when we go live, somewhere in the area, it's becoming a threat, so we can follow this through all of this. We'll be in close contact and pay close attention to this. Now, let's move ahead and look at Friday as we look at this, and this will be the threat as we move into Friday there. Again, all of this is going to be updated. We've got a little more than 24 hours before this hits, and it usually will be tweaked a little bit. So at this point, although I brought up the line so you get a general idea of where this is, it can change it a little bit more. It can go east or west. We've seen this backing up more westward on this storm. Usually it's moving closer to us. This time it's been moving west. But again, we're watching it very closely. We'll have the very latest as the National Weather Service update and all the meteorologists get on this. And we'll talk a little bit more about the meeting that happened yesterday at the National Weather Service in Jackson as they discussed all of that this morning during the morning show. Join us back at 7 o'clock this morning to find out more. We'll discuss weather, what to expect. All of that is on the way this morning, so don't miss out on it. But that's the headline of what we're watching so far as we look at things. As we look at another thing or two that has happened, we have an emergency landing. You don't hear this often in the United States, but an airplane was struck by lightning as it traveled, where was it coming from? Austin, Texas to Frankfurt. The plane is a mess. People are injured, struck by lightning during a storm. That has to be scary. It's a big metal thing. I bet it was loud in that plane, was it not? That did happen. So keep those folks in mind. I don't know, and I'll have to ask Odie's opinion of this when he comes in this morning. If everybody's been paying attention to, I don't know what you call it. I really don't. But it's a teacher in a public school that woke up one morning and decided that maybe he wanted to be someone else other than what God had made him. And at that point, he went and bought some, I guess it's like in the movies where they have to put on weight on somebody and they put that little belly on you to where you kind of look like Boss Hogg. Except he chose to put an upper portion of a lady's part. Did I word that kind of properly? And so he starts wearing this stuff to class with his students. Well, the school board said he could do that. And I'm not kidding. They did. Finally, he's been put out. They're not going to let him do it anymore. Parents have been raising Cain about this. And it was all fake. It was not a surgery. It was just like you'd wear to a costume party. And they were allowing this. And I'm really trying to keep a straight face on this. My thoughts are, what has happened to America? Really. I mean, that was kids. That was schools. This is not a Halloween party. And it took that long for the school to do something. Z-Cup, I might add. It makes me kind of nervous to even talk about that. We'll leave it at that. But school board finally putting him on hold and not letting him do that anymore. State of emergency in California as we look around this morning. What's going on there? Snow. I know we've got hot weather here, but it's snowing in portions of California. Pretty rough weather out there as we glance at these stories there. As we look at other things of my concerns for me, and I remember as I was in Nashville, Darryl Worley, I'd had dinner with him. Who remembers Darryl Worley? Great guy. And he made the statement of a song that he'd written. He goes, mark my word, one day they will make it to where you can't talk about this. Boy, is he right. As we saw all of those pictures taken down from 911, we have a school board member in Virginia trying to stop them and remove this from history of being taught, and using the word Islamic terror and all of these words of what happened with that day. They're trying to remove that from the schools. We don't learn from history what happens to us, folks. It's scary. It really is. We'll get into that, more of that. And lo and behold, what is happening now? A gentleman we all once knew who used to be president said, I think this COVID slipped out of a lab somewhere. No, you're talking about people, is what they told him. Ran him down, wouldn't run the news story, made him look bad. What are we getting this week? Headline reads, that's what happened. Imagine that. Sometimes America doesn't want to hear the truth, or certain portions of America. But most likely it'd come from a lab leak. They don't want to admit it, but that's what really happened. They tried to make someone look bad for trying to tell the truth to the public. We've got 2 Air Force commanders who've been relieved of their duty. What did they do? Well, they had nuclear weapons there, and they'd done a little surprise test on them, and they failed security. That's what happens when you don't do your job. You get removed from it. They have, I think, 4 total of the high-ranking ones there at the Air Force Base there. It was cold there. South Dakota is where all that went down. Have mercy, have mercy. We'll be right back. We'll get into this forecast as we get ready for everything that is coming. I'll show you what the National Weather Service has to tell us today. The Precast Group, offering you the best selection when it comes to a storm shelter. Located on 145 South in Meridian, where they offer above-ground shelters that can be installed in your home as you're built-in, or conveniently located right outside your home if it's already built. They also offer storm shelters that can be installed in a slight bank or on flat ground. Protect your family today with a very affordable storm shelter from the Precast Group. Highway 145 South, 601-482-0003. The Precast Group. And welcome back as we get ever near 6:45 this morning. No fog. Can you imagine that? It's good compared to what happened yesterday, isn't it? We had a lot of fog yesterday throughout the area, and it was hard to see. A lot better conditions this morning. So great news on that. All right, let's get into what's going on with the National Weather Service to find out all the details.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
As we go back and look at our record highs and our record lows, in 2012, it was 82 degrees. I think today's high is going to be 81 at least. We could break this record. We'll see what happens. Back in 1890, it was 19 degrees. I wasn't around, and you probably weren't either. Cold day it was, though. As we look at this forecast for today, 82-ish is what we're looking there throughout the area. As we go over to Alabama, 81 Demopolis, 79, a little bit cooler there in Birmingham due to that amount of rain. Look at that up there, 76 for a high there today. As we come across, this is the outlook for Alabama. They're expecting this just like Mississippi. This is at level 2, 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. Almost identical to Mississippi is what we're going to be looking at on that. As we look at the strong winds that are going to be associated with what we've already showed you, look at that, Mississippi Delta getting that level 3. But our area, and keep in mind with this, we're going to have sustained winds beginning after 6 o'clock this afternoon of 25 to 35, and then gust of 40 and maybe higher. That's going to blow garbage cans. That's going to break limbs. And what does that do? Well, it sort of puts you without power, doesn't it? So keep in mind what's going on with that. Now, we looked at what the timeline for Mississippi is, and that's going to be that 4 p.m., 4 a.m. until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Keep it in mind. Let's look at our 7-day forecast of what we've got lined out for this as we go to Wilson Saw. When we look at this, 50% chance of rain today is going to move in somewhere right after 9 o'clock this morning for the area. As we move into Mara, after this storm rolls through, 40% chance of showers. As we get into the weekend, we're getting rid of the rain, 71. That's going to be a pretty perfect day if you've got an event planned for Saturday. Sunday, look at this, 74. You can't beat it. Great weather. Back to work on Monday with 78. Lo and behold, we're back to 81 by Tuesday. 76 on Wednesday. Let's go another week off into March, all the way through the 16th. Look at this, 60s. The groundhog was wrong, or at least for the present moment. We don't know what's going to happen as we get into April and sometimes get snow, do we? No, we don't. But for the most part, no wintertime at all that happened during February. We'll see what becomes of this March. It's still warm all the way through halfway of the month. As we look at our best fishing times today, what's going to happen? Chet's Paint and Body says grab your line and hit it. Let's see here. Our major time this morning is 8:30 to be on the pond through about 10:30, about a 2-hour window there. Now, if you love fishing in the dark, Chet said be out there at 9 o'clock tonight. Bring a flashlight. Might get you a big old bass. That's happening there. But we're getting ready again for the morning show. It kicks off this morning in roughly 10 minutes from now. We want you back. Be a part of this. We'll learn everything that's going on in the Meridian area. Deb's still off. Odie's going to be in as we talk about the many, many things that happened yesterday. FBI agents, women on hoods. Truly, all happened in Meridian, Mississippi. We'll tell you about it coming up 10 minutes from now. Thank y'all for dropping by as we begin your day together. Put a smile on. It's going to be good.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners. The following program